Okay. I might be able to finish this one today. There's only this left. Defensive Airfest second half. And, 87, 89 pages left. I might be able to finish this in one sitting, so might be the last part, guys. And next time, it's going to be the first part for the next book on the light novel website. And then we'd have to wait until May 15th, I think, before we get the next book, which is the next to last book in the series. Oh boy. The Defense of Ehrenfest, second half. Charlotte, supporters of the rear guard. Here is what you ordered, Lady Charlotte. We will now begin with work on today's portion. It is thanks to your dedication that Lord Bonifacius and the others can fight without restraint. Please continue your hard work. I exchanged the order form I'd received last night for the completed potions and magic tools, then left the castle's brewing room. I needed to deliver everything to Brunhilde, who was working in the castle's kitchen. Well, the room for attendants right beside it. Lady Charlotte, are you taking all that to the kitchen yourself? My attendant, Catherine, asked. Would it not be better to entrust the task to someone else and... Oh my, I intend to go there anyway as part of my patrol, and it is not obvious that I would want to express my thanks to Brunhilde, who has been managing these support lines on her own since yesterday afternoon. I fear that something might be troubling her by this point. You have become exceptionally active since putting on your riding clothes, Catherine said with a titter. Normal clothes were generally being worn in the northern building and other locations with protective barriers. But in the castle proper, women were wearing riding clothes as a matter of course. Yeah, just in case they need to use their high beasts. Catherine included. It meant we could mobilize as soon as we were needed to, so for the past 3 days or so, I'd also been wearing them with face-stone armor hardened underneath. The face-stone armor in question was the same kind one learned to make during one's second year at the Royal Academy. It was light and primarily protected one's back and chest. The professors had told us we all needed to know how to make it, or else we would end up in trouble when danger came. Still, I never thought the day would come when I would actually need to use it. I do appreciate being able to move better, but still... Every morning when I put on my riding clothes and when I saw the castle nobles wince at the sight of such uncouthly dressed women, I was reminded of the abnormal situation Ehrenfest was currently facing. I couldn't help but pray that our lives would be returned to normal soon enough. Lady Charlotte, I did not expect you to come to the kitchen. You can always summon me if you require my services. Brunhilde had stopped instructing the chefs and was staring at me in surprise. She looked just as mobile and active as I did, perhaps because she too was wearing her riding clothes. I was already headed in this direction on patrol, and with how little I can contribute, I would not dare summon you away from such important duties. I came to give you the rejuvenation potions and magic tools from the scholars, and while I'm here, I wish to give a report on our latest meeting. Brunhilde must have realized that my report was too important to be delivered through an ordinance. Once she had finished instructing those around her, she cleared the room and produced a sound-blocking magic tool. Carrying out such an important duty on your own cannot be easy, I said. Are you having any problems that you might be hesitant to bring up during a meeting? Brunhilde, who was due to become the Archduke's second wife, was here by the kitchen because she was in charge of sending supplies to the front lines. She had the important duties of directing the castle chefs and sending the finished provisions to the knights engaged in combat. She also passed along any magic tools and rejuvenation potions the scholars sent over. It was because Brunhilde and those working with her were maintaining the supply lines with such assiduousness that Lord Bonifacius' group had managed to fight in Ilgner and Griebel for so many days in a row. One could say she was fighting her own battle within the castle's walls. I am fine, Brunhilde replied. Though I am tackling this position alone, my duties make up but a portion of the work I was carrying out already. In truth, it was Mother's duty as the Archduke's first wife to oversee the food and other essentials being sent to the front lines. She had been in charge of them until yesterday morning, with plenty of support from Brunhilde and me. Going through the process with her had taught us the proper order of things, whom to ask for what, when to distribute supplies, and how much to send at a time, among other things. Once Brunhilde had picked up everything she needed to know, she received the role in full, thus completing the handover process. Mother was having to guard a hidden passageway in case Lady Georgine's group tried to invade the castle, and it was important that the flow of supplies not be suddenly interrupted when that time came. Your managing of the city's shipments has allowed us to focus on hosting the knights, I said. According to Lord Bonifacius, Lady Georgine should make her move very soon. Ahrensbach's invasion force had apparently retreated every time our knights had tried to challenge them. This meant there were very few casualties on both sides, but the scope of our enemy's invasion had steadily increased over the past few days. We believed that our goal was to draw our knights away from the castle and divide them before launching their attack, but even knowing that, Lord Bonifacius couldn't return with his troops while Ehrenfest's mana was being stolen. I am more concerned about you than about myself, Lady Charlotte. The air in the castle is as sharp as a knife, and the Abb has ordered you to operate with Lord Cardstead when the time comes, no? Brunhilde asked with a respectful smile. The previous afternoon, Father had instructed me to work with the Knight Commander in the event of an emergency. His order was tantamount to recognizing that I was due to become the next Abb, not my brother. Oh, okay, so Charlotte's going to be the Archduchess, possibly. Nice! I would serve as Father's representative in the Archduke's office while he stayed with the Foundation. Father had asked me the status of my resolve, then told me the location of our Duchy's foundation. Oh, okay. So yes, this is essentially saying she is going to be the next Abb. Because only the Abb should know where the Duchy's foundation is. So him telling her this is essentially telling her, I have picked you as my successor, you are going to be the Abb when you come of age. Or whenever I retire, whatever. Whatever happens with that. And the nature of the High Bishop's key. I personally believe that Melkor would grow up to be a much better Abb than I. He had been raised to appreciate religious ceremonies, and staffs were now being obtained much later. But it wouldn't have made sense to give him my current duties. He hadn't even obtained a staff yet. How is Lord Wilfrid? Brunhilde asked at length. My brother was informed about his engagement's cancellation a full year before the news was made public. He has firmly refused to become the next Abb. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay. I was wondering what would happen if now that she's been picked, because I didn't know how Wilfrid would feel about that, but he's okay with that. He doesn't want to be the Abb. Okay. Firmly refused to become the next Abb, so my assignment to the role is an emergency should not bother him. His retainers, on the other hand, must be finding it hard to accept that he is being kept out of the loop. Ha ha. The retainers in question had kicked up quite a fuss when I, not my brother, was attached to the Knight Commander. That much was to be expected. They had yet to learn that my sister was being adopted into the royal family, that her engagement to my brother had been cancelled, and that their charge was no longer the next Abb. Ha ha. That's what they get for thinking that, essentially, because that wasn't set in stone until, well, it happened. However, I continued, with Kernberger's knights spreading rumors as they are, most nobles have no choice but to accept the truth of our situation. In the aftermath of our archducal meeting, when Rosemine had revealed so many secrets during an emotional outburst, Mother had sworn everyone in attendance to silence. But that magic contract was no longer enough. Kernberger's knights, who had come as reinforcements, largely thanks to my brother's connections, spoke openly of what Father had said and done during his visit to their province. The news was quickly spreading that my sister had the Grujashite, that the first prince had given her a courtship necklace, and that Kernberger's country gate had activated for the first time in 200 years. Yeah, kinda hard to stomp those rumors out. It's kinda hard to deny it now. Such rumors made the cancellation of my brother's engagement obvious and stretched why I was chosen to act alongside the Knight Commander. I did not think Father would return without first silencing Kernberger's knights, I mused. Mother must have the headache of a lifetime. I was hoping the battle would end before circumstances required me to work with Lord Cardstead, for fear of destabilizing the nobility even further. But at this point, I think it might be inevitable. Personally, I am glad that people now know the seat of Abb would go to you if something happened before Lord Melkor came of age, Brunhilde said. I understand your concerns since your first duty involves the very fate of our Duchy's foundation, but the Lysgangs must understand that Archducal family status on this matters. Her voice then lowered to a whisper as she added, assuming Lord Wilfrid stays on board. True. The Archducal family couldn't risk being divided at a time like this. It would only create an opening for the Lysgangs to exploit. I wanted to respectfully bow my head to Brunhilde, who was keeping her promise to control the Lysgangs even in these dire and busy times. I shall strive to reward your dedication, I said. In any case, I see no reason to believe Lady Georgine would stop short. Perhaps I should consider it inevitable that our nobles will discover the truth. Indeed, Lady Georgine must believe she has a good chance of achieving her aim. Also, else she would never have launched such an indiscreet assault. Lord Bonifacius concurs, and the Abb will stay with the Foundation for as long as he needs to. Though I will pray this battle does not last much longer. Even now that my sister had taken Arensbach's foundation and rescued Uncle, the forces invading us weren't deterred in the slightest. She had enough influence to stop the knights belonging to Arensbach, but a letter had informed us she was currently asleep. Okay, so this is while she was asleep. Okay. Given the circumstances, Uncle planned to bring Dunkelfelder's volunteers into Ehrenfest to support us further. Last night, I said, Gerlach was attacked in the same manner as Ilgner. Okay, never mind. This is all that was, when the letter arrived, she was asleep. But now, at this day and time, she's awake and they're fighting in Gerlach right now. The invaders retreated at the first sight of a fight, so Gerlach's knights are fine for now. Oh, never mind. But the time will come when they will need reinforcements. It makes me wonder, will my uncle join the fray before Lord Benefacius and his troops are stretched too thin? We might not have known how long this battle would endure, but tensions in the castle would clearly only continue to rise. Brunhilde pondered the question. As I understand it, the journey from Arensbach's castle to the border gate it shares with Ehrenfest takes 2 days by high beast. I cannot say whether Lord Ferdinand will make it in time, but several Geebs sent reinforcements in response to the Obs and Lord Bonifacius calls for aid. Are they expected to make it in time? Most certainly. Troops from Hildensdale arrived soon after those from Kernberger. In fact, I came here specifically to announce their arrival. I suspect this gives us enough knights to defend the nobles' quarter. Brunhilde clapped her hands together, a joyous smile spread across her face. Goodness, that is most welcome news. The hole left by Lord Bonifacius' knights has almost entirely been filled then. But the hole filled by Lord Bonifacius himself is going to be hard to fill, considering how much of a beast he is in fighting. Precisely, but with so many more mouths to feed, the castle's food stocks must be under a lot of pressure. It is said that we cannot be waged on an empty stomach. It is said that war cannot be waged on an empty stomach. True. The arrival of reinforcements was reassuring enough, but it also meant we needed more food, rejuvenation potions, magic tools, and so on. We currently had those supplies in excess since we had been preparing for this battle for over a month, but not only were we unsure how long the war would continue, we also hadn't expected to host so many extra knights. Furthermore, though I must apologize for asking at all, could you send Leisgang a request to aid us? You may rest assured I have nudged them several times since it was decided that Kernberger's reinforcements would come and that Holdensdale would participate. The teleportation circle and the Geeb's estate will be linked this afternoon. Okay. Now that my sister had gone to Arensbach, Brunhilde's engagement to father played a critical role in obtaining the Leisgang's assistance. It was good to know we hadn't run out of provisions partway through a war. Yeah, you don't want that to happen. I thank you ever so much, Brunhilde. Nobody else can perform your duties so exceptionally well. Please tell me if any of the returned food containers come with reports or requests from the knights. You may count on me, she replied with a reassuring smile. I had intended to give her my support if she needed it, but I could see now that she was capable enough to manage on her own. Oh, this is going to be fun. After returning the sound blocker, I carried out the rest of my patrol and then returned to the Archduke's office. I needed to make sure the newly made secret passages hadn't been discovered or used, a duty that could be completed only by a member of the Archducal family. At present, the Archduke's office was serving as a command post for the Knight's Order. There were knights stationed in the dormitory and around the training grounds, but the commander and several other higher-ups were in the office gathering intelligence. Just as we wore our riding clothes at all times, they wore their armor, ensuring they were ready to sortie at a moment's notice. My father, Ehrenfest, was armored as well, though he also wore the surcoat that distinguished him as the Archduke. Of course, the knights weren't the only ones here. They were also scholars sending out ordinances and recording the responses they received, in attendance looking after all those gathered, except everyone was doing their job. Okay, Sylvester has not gone to the Foundation yet. You're back, Charlotte? Father asked. Give me your report. I reported the state of the castle's brewing room and kitchen, then stated that I hadn't seen anything unusual on my patrol. Father nodded. So we're to receive provisions from Leisgang this afternoon, are we? That's good to hear. Brunhilde seems to be performing her role just fine on her own. She is completing every single duty expected of her. Where is Mother? She went to check the special emergency room and make sure the traps in the hidden passageways hadn't activated. Just then an ordnance flew into the room. It circled above our heads, then perched on the arm of Lord Cardstead, who was standing behind my father. The bird must have come from a knight at the training grounds. Has a patrol schedule been prepared for the Knights of Haldensdale? That was my first guess, but it actually concerned a likely invasion force. We received word from Ilgner that 2 days ago, individuals who appeared to be nobles boarded a merchant ship in Leisgang. A lumber merchant saw them. The unexpected news surprised us all. We could only stare in silence as the bird started again. No regular noble would come to Ehrenfest by boat, and those who did would use a far more luxurious vessel. Send word to Leisgang and investigate this, Father ordered. Find out when the boat is going to arrive. Before the bird we received could even finish repeating its message, he took out a yellow space stone and tapped it with the staff. We should also inform the commoners at the port, I said, as the newly made ordnance took flight. How long will this investigation take? The boat set out 2 days ago, did it not? Father, if the boat departed 2 days ago, it might already have arrived, I said. There is no knowing when the fighting will begin. We have not heard from Mother, so the hidden passageways must not have been used, but we will never recover if our foundation is stolen. You must go protect it at once. Yeah, you need to go. Right, I'm leaving the rest in your hands. Cardstead, support Charlotte with your men, Father said. Then he marched out of the room, bringing with him as few knights and attendants as was socially acceptable. I turned first to Lord Karstead, then to the remaining knights and scholars. As the Archduke has decreed, I shall oversee things in his absence. May we all work well together. Understood. I do not know when Lysking will respond, but we should do as much as we can on our own in the interim, I continued. Any ship that arrives in Ehrenfest will dock at the West Gate, so we should first increase the number of knights stationed there. Please also station the knights from Haldensdale as quickly as you can. Lord Karstead nodded in agreement with my orders. We should station more knights at the other gates as well. If our potential invaders were suspicious enough to be noticed, then they might be a decoy meant to distract us from another attack. It does seem suspicious that a group of nobles was acting so indiscreetly, one of the knights agreed, spurring a discussion among his peers. Still, we can say for sure that nobles of some kind are en route to the West Gate. We know not whether they are friend or foe, but a defense of some kind is necessary. What if we assign some of the knights guarding the nobles' quarter to the West Gate and temple? Good idea. We could have Haldensdale guard the nobles' quarter. They don't know as much about the lower city's gates. The knights in question visited the nobles' quarter for winter socializing, but never ventured into the lower city or used its gates, as it stood to reason that they might not work well with the soldiers there. Would you care to weigh in, Lady Charlotte? I am in full support of your proposals, I said. Reinforce the gates post-haste and give the knights from Haldensdale their new orders. No sooner had we come to an agreement than an ordinance swooped into the room. Lysking had sent the response much sooner than expected. This is the scholar Geeb Lysking assigned to investigate the suspicious nobles, the bird said. I see no reason to doubt the claims that the group in question boarded a merchant vessel. They are scheduled to reach Ehrenfest at 4th bell today. Before the ordinance could finish repeating its message, another white bird perched on Lord Karstead. This is Daniel. I received a response from Lysking. Please order the nobles' quarter to start evacuating, and ensure they are done before 4th bell. I will do the same for the temple and each gate. Daniel was my sister's guard knight. Ilgner must have contacted him, which was why he'd asked Lysking to investigate the matter. That explained why the response had come so quickly. His ordinance prompting the scholars present to begin sending one ordinance after another to the knight's order and the nobles' quarter, asking them to start the evacuation. Mother, this is Charlotte, I said, having made an ordinance of my own. We have reason to anticipate an attack at 4th bell and the arrival of a separate enemy force. Please move into position once you have finished your patrol. May Ungriff guide you. Then I prepared a second ordinance. Brunhilde, we have reason to anticipate an attack at 4th bell. Please finish your shipments before then. From there, I contacted each member of the Archducal family one by one. A new ordinance shot into the room while another of mine was taking its leave. Sister, this is Melkor. Daniel has contacted the temple, and Casimir has started our evacuation. I will send another ordinance when it is done. Let us both continue to do our best. Casimir must have sent the ordinance, but Melkor's voice made it clear he was putting us all into carrying out his duties. The atmosphere in the room started to relax as another ordinance flew in. Charlotte, it's me. Seems like we got invaders coming at 4th bell, huh? I'll come protect you. It was Wilfrid. The knights around me glanced at one another. Someone in my brother's retinue was apparently in contact with a former dismissed retainer, so we couldn't allow him in the Archduke's office. The threat of sensitive information being leaked to the enemy was far too great. Yeah, we don't know who can still be trusted in Wilfrid's retinue, so yeah. What if we had Kernberger's reinforcements guard the east side of the nobles' quarter with Lord Wilfrid, while the knights from Haldensdale guard the west, a knight suggested. We could ask Lord Wilfrid to command them. He has training as a knight and enough leadership skill experience from playing dinner at the Royal Academy. I prepared an ordinance. My apologies, brother, but could you instead lead Kernberger's knights in defense of the east side of the nobles' quarter? The knights were only lending us their aid because of Alexis, one of his guards, so this felt like a sensible arrangement. Scholars, I said, returning my attention to the room, take our brood goods to the knights at the training grounds. Attendants, those of you who can cast healings should go there as well. I was about to continue with an ordinance interjected in father's voice. Charlotte, Geeb Gerlach sent me a request for reinforcements. His province is under attack by an army far too large for him to defeat alone. Gerlach must have been our enemy's true target. They need troops as soon as possible. A stir ran through the room. We must inform Lord Bonifacius, one of the knights shouted. He's still fighting in Ilgner, another replied. Only once he finishes there can he proceed to Gerlach. Let us ask Gerlach's neighbors to help then. I sent ordinances to the Geebs, but they didn't respond as we'd hoped. They said they couldn't send troops to Gerlach when their own provinces might be invaded next. Well, they got a point, because we don't know who, at the time, we didn't know who was going to get attacked and who wasn't. What should we do? Lord Bonifacius was caught up in a battle too intense for him to leave at right now. Gerlach was facing more troops than it could ever hope to fight back, and a ship carrying suspicious nobles was headed straight for the West Gate. The plots to disperse and distract our troops were now in full swing. Lady Georgina's group would surely begin their attack at 4th bell. My throat was raw, my hands trembled, my heart pounded in my chest. I could feel my every thought vanish into a pure white void. As the next ob, how was I supposed to respond? Lady Charlotte, Lord Carstead asked, peering down at me with a look of concern. At that moment, a bird shot into the room and turned into a letter. Ordinances could travel only to nobles, but magic letters could also be sent to places and even commoners without mana. This one was from Heifetz, one of Dunkelfelger's commanders, and was addressed to the office of Ehrenfest Archduke. It said that Uncle would soon arrive at the border gate with Dunkelfelger's volunteers and that they sought permission to enter Ehrenfest. They're at the border gate? I can't believe it, they made it in time! A ray of hope had cut through the darkness. The remarks made by the knights were now staring down at the letter didn't even bother me. Should it not have been Lord Ferdinand who sent this letter? Has something happened to him and Lady Rosamund? I received a report stating that while Lady Clarissa's letters are allowed through, Lord Hartmann's are not. Perhaps the enemy has control of the border gate and is destroying all correspondence from Ehrenfest residents? Lord Ferdinand is no fool. He must have asked Lord Heifetz to send a letter identical to his own, ensuring that their message would reach us. Get them father's permission to pass through the border gate, I said, interrupting their back and forth, and start writing a response. Our scholars sent an ordinance while another penned our response to Heifetz. My father and I were in agreement as to what should happen next. Send word to Ferdinand, father said. Have him go to Gerlach. I wrote in a letter to Uncle that Gerlach had been attacked last night, that we wanted him to contain the Ahrensbach Knights, and that his force had our permission to get involved in the battle. In the meantime, I asked the scholar to contact Ehrenfest Knights at the border gate. We told them it was likely our letters were being confiscated and that they should give the correspondence they were about to receive straight to Uncle when he arrived. This will ensure our letter reaches him once he arrives at the border gate, I said. I was starting to feel relieved, but then another knight entered. He introduced himself as one of the knights from the teleportation hall, then held out a letter from the sovereignty. This inquiry was delivered to us, he said. Did something happen at the Royal Academy, I asked. Not exactly. The sovereignty said that Ahrensbach and Lansdorf have yet to invade, and wish to know when the attack is going to happen. I was overcome with the urge to clap a hand to my forehead. What made them think to ask Ehrenfest about Ahrensbach's concerns? I wished to pretend the letter had never arrived, but with the Archduke conference right around the corner, we could not ignore an inquiry from the sovereignty. Thus, I did the only thing I could. I sent an ordinance to Father while he was at the Foundation's hall. Father, how should I respond to this inquiry, I asked. How thoroughly stupid. If they're not caught up in this mess, they can wait until we're out of it. They didn't use the emergency water mirror, so let them focus on themselves while we do the same. Prioritize our defenses. I nodded and we elected to postpone our response to the sovereignty. Fourth bell was fast approaching. It was best to obey the ob and devote my attention to protecting Ehrenfest. Lord Carstead, will we make it in time for fourth bell, I asked. I worry that an attack will start before then. As prepared as we were to sortie, it would still take a while for the knights to move to their designated positions. I also couldn't shake the feeling that the boat arriving at the west gate was a diversion. At the very least, there is no mistaking that a portion of their forces will arrive at Fourth Bell. Even if our suspects on the boat are a mere diversion, we can expect an attack at the same time they arrive. They might even act under cover of the commission at the west gate. We could not possibly act any faster than we do now, Annette added. Let us simply be glad we were not caught by surprise. I nodded. My heart was pounding at the time for the battle approached. I'd been entrusted with the Archduke's office, but I was starting to question whether I really had what it took to be the next ob. An indescribable anxiety spread through my chest, yet I needed to press on. Our attackers weren't going to pause for the sake of my nerves. As I tried to refocus, a slew of ordinances arrived from the knights who had reached their stations. I am at the south gate. As of yet, no suspicious individuals have been seen. Lower city's evacuation is progressing smoothly. This is the east gate. We have closed the gate and stopped any carriages from entering or leaving the city. We have arrived at the temple. Henceforth we shall serve under Lord Melkor and Lord Fonzel. The nobles' quarter has been evacuated. The streets have been cleared. Our reinforcements from Haldensdale are in position. We are keeping watch from the sky. Everything was going to plan, it seemed, but that wasn't the end of the ordinances. 2 more birds arrived in short order. This is Brunhilde. Our shipments to Lord Bonifacius have been made. He is fighting in Ilgner, but claims to sense a more powerful foe in Gerlach. I thank you ever so much, Brunhilde, I replied. Uncle and his forces are on their way and should reach Gerlach in time to help. This is Melkor. The temple has been evacuated. May Angriff guide you, sister. Melkor, this is Charlotte, said in response. Your report has been received. Do not leave your guard knights. I shall pray that Angriff guides you as well. Father must also have received a ton of ordinances. He was sending birds to us from within the Foundation. One of the knights saw a suspicious figure in one of the castle's back hallways, the first said. He lost sight of them almost at once, but considering where they were seen, they are thought to have entered a hidden passageway. Be on your guard. Then another arrived. Rosamund is reunited with Ferdinand and arrived in Gerlach. I granted them permission to use military force. Rosamund is in Gerlach? I remembered how she'd taken her retainers into Ahrensbach and commanded our knights during dinner matches at the Royal Academy. Oh, how her unwavering eyes and determined expression had inspired me. I was still afraid, but as the next ob Ehrenfest, I needed to defend my duchy until the last. I wished to face this battle with the same motivational posture as my sister. And it was fourth bell. Here we go. We all held our breath as an ordnance flew into the room. This is the West Gate. As reported, a ship carrying suspicious individuals has arrived. They are clad in silver cloth and using wolfen nails. And thus, the battle for Aaronfest's foundation began. I wonder if we're going to get anything for Sylvester. Ooh, hold on. Let me see. There was Lecco. God dang, I want to see. Come on, give me. Wait. What was that? Florencia. Okay, that was her dealing with the double. Come on, give us a Sylvester one. Give us a Sylvester one. Come on. God damn it. Sylvester! Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get back to Lecco. Because that's the next one. Come on. Here we go. Lecco, the battle for the West Gate. Of all the passengers disembarking the Lysgate merchant vessel, one lot stood out to me most. The very first group who had poked their heads out. It was weird. Even from a distance, it was obvious they were used to people doing everything for them. And if even I could tell they were nobles, they couldn't have been trying too hard to be discreet. The knights must have noticed too, as they were looking especially wary. There they are, I said. Together with Lord Daniel, we'd warned the dock workers about our suspicious arrivals well in advance. They kept their distance from the obvious nobles, creating a path to the gate for them. Those still on the merchant ship were staying back and watching. They must sense something is up. They just don't know what. Lecco, get into position. Captain Gunter ordered. Yes, sir. Oh, man, I can't believe this is actually happening. It wasn't that I was surprised. More knights had arrived at the gate. We tightened our guard, and people had run around the city telling everyone to evacuate. I just never thought commoners like us would take part in a battle between nobles. This was the real deal. Silver cloth, one knight muttered. I see some under their capes. Are those dogs with them? Another asked. A third shook his head. Not just any dogs. Those look like wolfen nails to me. The knights were lying in wait. Lord Daniel said something about the enemy arriving at the gate and reinforcements. Then one of his voice-carrying white birds shot him to the air. Stay away from the wolfen nails, one of the knights warned me and the other soldiers. You don't have any modern to fight them with. Is the waist ready? Asked a second. It was. The ladle in my hand was buried deep in a bucket of excrement. Oh, God. Imagine getting hit with that stuff. That's nasty. I'm terrified. I feel like I'm going to throw up. And not just because the stench of the waist made me want to retch. Oh, boy. That would definitely make you want to throw up. By itself. I was so nervous about the coming battle that my stomach was twisted in knots. Nobles fought by blasting each other with magic, right? We commoners wouldn't stand a chance. I wanted to hide before these suspicious nobles reached the gate and mowed us all down like grass. It was a primal urge. The animal inside me was screaming that we had to get out of here. My hands trembled and my legs shifted, unable to stay still. Not yet, Lecco. Stay in place. Captain Gunter's words of caution made me jump a little. He must have thought I was desperate to charge into battle, but I actually been fighting back the urge to run away. Things will get worse if you try to run, the captain said in a low voice, having seen straight through me. These are nobles we're dealing with, remember? They can use high beasts and magic. Our job is to throw waste on them until they tear away their silver clothes. Make it count. I turned to look at him without even thinking about it. He was a commoner like the rest of us, but he didn't sound even the slightest bit scared. He was probably hiding that. In fact, he looked more eager to fight than anyone. He was grinding his teeth so hard that I could practically hear it, and the grave look on his face made me think he was dying to punch a hole in those nobles' faces. I wouldn't blame him on that one. His eyes were so sharp that I could see the anger in them, even in the dim light of the room we were waiting in. I've seen the captain like this before. Back then, it must have been years ago. Not a single soldier at the gate had wanted to go near him. He'd scared us half to death as he beat down the Eastgate's commander, saying it was all his fault. I'd since learned what the whole incident was about. The commander at the time had envied Gunter getting all sorts of exclusive intelligence from the knights, so he hadn't spread the word when he was instructed to, not letting outsiders into the city. Oh, it was when the whole Bindewald thing happened. And as a result, the captain lost his daughter. Captain Gunter's daughter. I couldn't remember her name anymore, but she spent a year at the South Gate while I was there, helping Otto with his math work. She hadn't even been baptized, but she'd pointed out problems with our paperwork and advised us on how to educate the apprentices. I'd rarely seen her, probably because she was too weak to come to the gate every day, and spent the days she was there cooped up in a room, so I couldn't picture her face, but I sure remembered Otto showering her with praise. Because he wouldn't stop comparing us. I was assigned to work as Otto's assistant when Captain Gunter's daughter was baptized and stopped coming to the gate. Sure, I was a bit better at math than most people, but it wasn't something I enjoyed doing. Otto would compare me to the captain's daughter day in and day out, to the point that I actually considered quitting. It never came to that, though. The girl said something about how soldiers used to more physically strenuous work wouldn't last doing math all the time, so the gate created a brand new role for that kind of work. Okay. Though I couldn't remember what Captain Gunter's daughter was like, her influence had reached all sorts of people. She had also been doted on pretty much heavily by her dear old dad. Her death at the hands of an outsider noble must have been heartbreaking. Captain Gunter hadn't even been given her body. He must be getting revenge for his daughter. Oh, yeah. Especially considering Bindewald was from Ahrensbach. Oh, this is going to be a real doozy. Oh, boy. That realization made the blood drain from my face. The captain looked ready to throw punches at those nobles like when he beat up the old commander. Wait, huh? Has he got a death wish? His family had already lost one person to an outsider noble. What would they think if Captain Gunter died too? Lady Rosemary wouldn't be impressed, that was for sure. A rumor had been circulating for a while now that she'd taken Captain Gunter's family as her personnel because it was her fault his daughter died. Like the noble was actually targeting Lady Rosewine and took the captain's daughter by mistake. That's the story they're telling. Okay. Okay. And I guess it's also to make sense because, people who had some vague memory of her would say, oh wait, Lady Rosewine kind of looks like mine a bit. So that's the cover story they're coming up with. Okay. This can't be good, right? It's gonna be bad. Fourth bell rang as I fought back the urge to cradle my head. The silver-wearing nobles were about to enter the gate when one of the knights cried out from where he was hiding. Now! Captain Gunter was the first to move. He swung his waist-filled ladle, and a sickening squelch filled the air as he landed a direct hit. What in the... More guards attacking us? Or mere guards attacking us? The invaders were openly furious, but the captain didn't care. He hit them with another helping of waste. Come on, men, throw! All at once, we started scooping up waste and pelting the nobles. We let out weird battle cries at the same time, screaming things like, screw you, and eat this! Oh boy, that's kind of funny. We were desperate, or almost ready to die. All we could do was act as ordered. Commoners, how dare you! Soon, excrement wasn't all we were throwing at the nobles. We added stones and sharp blades to the mix. Okay. The silver cloth blocked magic, but it wouldn't protect our attackers from normal weapons like the ones we soldiers used, or as we were told. A knife thrown by one of our knights in hiding struck a noble and then bounced right off. Oh, they have charms too, another knight explained. I didn't know what that meant, but whenever I was too focused on how great it felt covering the enraged nobles of waste. I put up with the stench for days now. I wanted to unload it all right here and now. I couldn't help but laugh. I was getting cocky. Uh-oh. And maybe that was the problem. For my next shot, I aimed for one noble's head and scored a direct hit. Waste clung to the hood of his cowl and dripped down in his face. The noble threw his hood back, revealing a dirty white mask. His eyes were visible through two holes, and they stabbed into me like spears. Uh-oh. Commoner, you will pay the price of defying a noble. The invaders threw aside their silver clothes. Our plan had worked, so the captain and everyone else pumped their fists and cheered victoriously. I wasn't so excited, though. Watch him, the invader said, cleaning the waste away in one quick motion. That's not good. He didn't look away from me for a single moment. He must have been dead set on getting revenge. This isn't good. The invader was holding that magic stick all nobles had. They can wash things, make weapons, and even contact people with them. It went without saying that they were pretty damn useful, and now this person's was shining. In other words, something dangerous was coming. Leckle! I'd taken a panicked step back, tripped on a rock, and fell straight on my butt. Even then, my eyes were locked on the green light coming from the stick, now bigger than a fist. Their cloth's gone, one of the knights shouted. Capture them now! Yes, sir! This was the moment the knights had been waiting for. I leaped out from the shadows in an instant. The battlefield was overrun with capes. Someone shouted, Getelt! And an explosion rang out barely a moment later. If not for their intervention, the invading nobles' attack would have finished me for sure. Fall back, the knight shouted at me. It was Lord Daniel. I never thought a noble would put themselves in danger for a commoner like me. I shakily bobbed my head in response. My body was so tense I couldn't actually follow his instruction. The best I could manage was to crawl away. The knight's order? They were hiding. The knights and invaders began fighting each other, magic against magic, but now there was no silver cloth involved. The distance between them got smaller and smaller. Unleash the wolfenales. The enemy nobles weren't our only threats. At their command, massive black dogs were loosed on us. Soldiers, stand down, the knight shouted while fighting one of the invaders. Wolfenales can only be defeated with mana. Get inside, another cried. Wolfenales attack anything with less mana than them. Oh, great! So, essentially the commoners are toast. There's too many. The soldiers near me scattered like spiders after being told to hide inside the gate. Explosions rang out from every direction as the knights blocked the mana bombs being launched at us by the invaders. Run away! Don't stop! Don't slow down! Shut the doors once we're inside! I desperately tried to follow everyone as they ran, but the nobles' glare and mana must have paralyzed me. My knees were creaking and refused to work. I somehow managed to stand, but running was out of the question. Hold on! The Wolfenales were deftly avoiding the knights in their single-minded determination to catch me and the other soldiers. Most of them were blocked in time, but we were already on the defensive. There just weren't enough knights to contain them all. Lekkel, one of the Wolfenales that had managed to slip through, stalked toward me, growling. Seeing it from afar, I thought it was just like any other big dog, but that wasn't the case at all. It had gone from being below my eye level to above it, and it was getting taller. Aw, shit. The dog is growing! The Wolfenale was getting increasingly larger, and it leaped at me with its mouth wide open. It was big enough to sever my head with a single bite. I could see its tongue extending between sharp teeth and wiry bridges of saliva and smell its disgusting breath. It's gonna eat me! My throat seized up to the point that I couldn't even cry for help. I dropped to the ground, and its teeth gnashed right above my head. You got lucky! Yeah, if you hadn't landed on your butt again, you would have been eaten. It had bitten the air where I was just a moment ago. I'm alive! Dark fur blocked my vision. I thought I managed to escape being eaten, only for a moment. But the fey beast was pinning me down with its huge forelegs. I dodged its first bite, but its claws dug into me and kept me in place. I couldn't even process the pain before the dog lunged at me for another bite. The most I could do was watch in horror, but until the patter of quick footsteps caught my ear and a gauntlet traveling at an unbelievable speed smashed into the side of the beast's head. What are you doing to my subordinate, you mangy pup? The Wolfenale didn't collapse from the blow, but it did stop trying to tear me apart. It changed its target to Captain Gunter and immediately bit down on his arm. Gunter! Captain! Lord Daniel and I cried out in unison, and a moment later the dog exploded with a surprisingly quiet thump. Blood and chunks of meat rained down on me as I watched in a daze. The dog exploded? What was that? Captain Gunter muttered, looking through between his fist and what remained of the Wolfenale. Lord Daniel raised his weapon and turned his back to us. That was the charm from Lady Rosemine. It protected you. The charm protected me? Everyone, get away while you still can. Lord Daniel was already staring straight into the Wolfenale. Seeing him ready to protect us made a rush of emotions surge through me. Meanwhile, there was a loud metallic clang as the captain smacked his gauntlets together. Alright, I get how these charms work now. That means I can fight. Captain! Gunter, wait! Lord Daniel and I tried to stop him, but it was no use. Protecting the city's my job, he roared, and leaped into another Wolfenale. Come at me! The heck do you mean, come at me? Oh my god, you get to see the carnage that Gunter caused! I can't wait to see that animated, but then once that happens, that means the show is almost over, because like I said, there's only 2 more books left. This and the Aftermath. Or the next one in the Aftermath, I mean. Essentially the battle of the sovereignty, and then the aftermath of it all. The captain always scolded the apprentices for going berserk in combat, yet here he was doing exactly that! There was nothing we could do but watch, I thought, but Lord Daniel rushed after him. Captain Gunter punched another Wolfenale, which returned the favor by slashing at him with his claws. The attack activated another charm, and while the dog didn't explode this time, it must have felt something. It registered the captain as a threat and pounced, snarling all the while. Gunter! Lord Daniel swore away the black dog to protect the captain. These charms only reflect attacks. They're not meant for combat or killing babies. So I just need to bait them into attacking me, right? Captain Gunter asked. Yes, this is an order, soldier. Stand down, Lord Daniel shouted as he slew another black dog. I appreciated the attempt, but it was too late. The door leading into the gate had already been closed and secured to stop the Wolfenales. We were stuck out here. Lekkel, are you alright? These claws went pretty deep. Let's get you somewhere safe. Over there in the shadows should do. Other soldiers who hadn't been quick enough to enter the gate rushed over and whispered among themselves as they carried me into the shade. Only now that I'd escaped immediate danger did the unbelievable pain, unbearable pain of my wounds sink in. I was barely even able to move. Ow, 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 ow. Stay still, one of the knights warned me. There are more of those dogs. I slumped against the wall of the gate and overheard my colleagues and the apprentices chattering inside. They must have been watching the fighting from the meeting rooms and whatnot. That noble over there just picked up his silver cloth. That's bad, right? Get him, knights! Look over there. The knights taking them down with the same kind of weapon we use. Whoa, that's amazing. Keep fighting. They sure don't seem concerned, do they? Maybe it was because knights from elsewhere had come to reinforce the gate and nudge the situation in our favor, but the apprentices were treating the battle like some kind of spectacle. They sure were relaxed now that they were out of harm's way, of course. Captain Gunter just took out another big dog. Nah, that was Lord Daniel, wasn't it? He's protecting the captain and defeating those beasts at the same time? Wow! Yeah, Daniel's getting some fans here. And so is Gunter, I think. I started searching for Captain Gunter and Lord Daniel. They were standing so that none of the Fey Beasts or enemy nobles' attacks would reach the wall where we were hiding. Over here, Mutt, the captain, shouted, baiting a wolf and now to bite him. He was a commoner like the rest of us, but wasn't content with letting the knights protect him. Be careful, Gunter. Stop this already, Lord Daniel snapped, clearly having a rough time of it. That was the last of the charms your family gave you. That exclamation prompted one of the enemy nobles to lob a magic tool, though he remained completely focused on the battle at hand. If that was his last charm, and this is where his interference ends. Getelt. Lord Daniel stepped forward to shield Captain Gunter. It was only a momentary distraction, but it was enough for the man who appeared to be the enemy's leader to shoot a ball of light from his ring toward the captain. A commoner soldier using magic tools to kill Wolfennails, the noble cried. Pure arrogance! Get out of our way! What? Captain! The ball of mana raced through the air, closing in on the captain. We held our breath, wondering how he was going to avoid it, only to witness him run toward the attack, you idiot! No, he's used the ones from his family, which means he still has his left, right? Correct? You're not getting into my city. It was that determined roar that Captain Gunter disappeared into the light. A scream soon followed, and when the light faded, the captain was kicking the enemy's leader square in the stomach. How? That's what I'm wondering. How the noble grunted as he collapsed. Daniel, secure the enemy, a knight shouted. Right. Lord Daniel did as instructed, quickly slapping bracelets on the noble's wrist before tying him up. He then removed the man's mask and tossed it to the ground, cracking it. Grossum. Excellent work, Gunter. Oh, yeah, the body devil. The noble must have been someone famous, as Lord Daniel gasped upon seeing his face. The knight, giving out orders, tightly bound the noble he just defeated, then shouted, send word to the Ob immediately. Once the enemy's commander was out of action, the rest was straightforward. I couldn't see him from where I was, but he was said to be a nasty foe who used all sorts of magic tools. The captain had taken down 2 Wolfennails, then used a charm to block Grossum's final attempt at resistance. Okay, that's what happened. Okay. Captain, Lord Daniel said you were out of charms, I said. How did you survive that last man's attack? I ran out of the charms my family sent me, but I still had my first one. The one that Lady Rosemine gave me personally. Lord Daniel wanted you to run while you had protection to spare, so you kept fighting? You sure got carried away. I was terrified just watching. But none of our guys got seriously hurt, right? A pretty damn good result, if you ask me. He was right. It was a good result. I was far from the only one groaning and nursing my wounds, but none of us had died or were on the verge of death. And in a battle against nobles, that was a monumental achievement. Attention, the fighting is over, the gate commander shouted through the door. He'd stayed outside with the rest of us, though I wasn't sure whether he had deliberately chosen to guard the rear or just hadn't been quick enough to make it into the gate. You lot, start carrying the wounded inside. We gotta clean them first, the soldier retorted as he stepped outside. Leko's covered in blood. This is from where that Fey Beast exploded, right? Given how many injured there are, it seems better to bring buckets of water than carry them all to the well. Then we can take them to the first aid station. The commanders waved a hand. Go fetch water then. We gotta clean up the gate and all the wounded. We also need to start inspecting all those still on the merchant vessel. Commander, what if there are more threats inside the boat? The knights are checking as we speak. Our job is to clean the gates, and that includes you, apprentices, who just sat back and watched the whole battle. You lot must have energy to spare, so go fetch those buckets of water. Now! From the river or the well. The apprentices started picking up buckets, their faces twisted in grimaces. The fighting's over, but we still gotta do dirty work, one complained. Nobles could clean everything in a snap using magic, added another. Yeah, they could even have cleaned the gate, a third apprentice gestured at the random clean spots on the ground where the invaders had washed their clothes. Shut it, idiots. Oh no, there was Judith too. Captain Gunter said, do you really expect us to waste the night's time with something like this? Our job was just to defend the west gate, but theirs is far from over. Take a look. I followed his finger to swarms of high beasts over the temple and north gate and countless bright flashes shooting across the sky. Okay, and here's Judith, those left behind. Not long after third bell, Daniel sent an ordinance instructing us to finish evacuating everyone by noon. Feline's hands were shaking too much for her to respond, so I made my step and sent word to Roderick in the High Bishop's chambers. Hold on. Oh, well, I'll keep going. This is Judith. Daniel wants the evacuation done by noon. We'll go to the orphanage. Don't forget our drills. Lord Melkor's retainer, Lord Cosmere, managed to get Feline back on her feet, but she still seemed kind of unstable. If any of the Grey Priests saw her so panicked, the entire temple would end up descending into chaos. I thought for a moment, then looked at Lord Cosmere. He gestured suddenly with his fingers, indicating that I should take Feline to the orphanage on my way to the temple's back gate. I gave a brisk nod in response. Come on, Feline, I said. Then we left Lord Melkor's chambers together. We called out to the Grey Priests and Shrine Maidens as we saw en route to the orphanage, that telling them to evacuate, as we had practiced. It seemed to distract Feline from her nerves. I shouldn't need to stay with her the entire time, then. Upon our arrival to the orphanage, an ordonnance flew over to us. This is Fonzo, it said. I've arrived at the Noble's Gate. Daedric is headed to the front gate now. Lord Melkor's guards had remained with the Knight's Order, but now they were arriving one by one. I'll make my way to the back gate, I said to Feline. Take care, she replied, and just be careful. I went into the basement of the girls' building and out the back door when I spotted Grey Shrine Maidens returning from the workshop. Fran had most likely headed to the boys' building to spread word of the evacuation. We needed to relieve the Grey Priests guarding the back gate of duty as soon as we could, so I made my high beast, flew straight there, and delivered my instructions. Evacuate at once, we will take over guarding the gate. Thank you. I watched the priests hurry into the boys' building, then sent an ordinance to Lord Cosmere. This is Judith. I have arrived at the back gate and evacuated the Grey Priests. I was about to seal the temple's gate, he replied, and a moment later the large gate beside me started to rumble. As I watched it close, I couldn't help thinking that the temple really was meant for nobles. No sooner was the back gate shut than knights from the nobles' quarter arrived. Lady Judith, one of them, greeted me. Welcome, Lord Otis, I replied, doing my best to sound polite. As we are going to be fighting together, I permit you to address me untitled. Then I activated the pink shoe mill that had previously been deposited at this gate. What is the pink stuffed animal doing here? This is a battle-ready shoe mill. Lady Rosemont designed it. Because it requires so much mana, it can be active only for a limited time, but I doubt we have anything to worry about. She said it was stronger than the royal family and any Archduke candidate. Seriously? I wonder if she's exaggerating on that. Yeah, it really is hard to believe. Especially when Lysetta dressed them up to look so cute. At a glance, they don't look dangerous at all. I guess that's the point. So the enemy doesn't see them and go, run! I assure you, they really can fight. They are based on the magic tools in the library, the same ones that easily scattered even Dunkelfugger's knights. Everyone gasped. Lady Rosewood's victories at the Royal Academy were common knowledge by this point. I told them what I'd seen with my own eyes, and they finally acknowledged the shoe mill, even if only with some reservations. I don't blame them, though. The shoe mills Lady Rosemont made for us will, in her words, mercilessly slaughter anyone who threatens the temple, I said. She asked that we use them if we encounter more invaders than expected, or if we are wounded too gravely to fight back. Each gate had only 3 knights assigned to protect it, so Lady Rosemont created these truly lethal magic tools to help us. They were excessively dangerous, to be honest, to the point that I found them kind of terrifying, but defending the temple came first. Right, Lord Otis said. So they are to be used in times of danger. Correct. To operate them, first channel mana into these face stones. This is how the shoe mill tells friend from foe, so anyone not registered with it risks being exterminated. Subsequently, I told the knights exactly how to use the shoe mill. It was a nerve-wracking experience considering that they were all much, much older than me. I appreciate the explanation, Lord Otis said when I was done. You should do this for the knight at the gate as well. That won't be necessary. One of Lord Melkor's guard knights should already have arrived at each of the gates. We received a warning about the merchant vessel well in advance, which had given us time to prepare ourselves and evacuate the others, but we wouldn't have that same leeway once the fighting started. Relying on one person to inform every single gate had seemed dangerous, so we'd ensure that each gate had at least one person in the know. I see, Lord Otis said. Has the temple finished its evacuation yet? Daniel sent word from the Knight's Order that the lower city is done with theirs. I expected as much. I went to the girls' building not long ago and can confirm that its doors are firmly shut. Lord Melkor should send word to the castle soon. Would you like me to contact him? No need. If you are done here, then you can move to your station. This is my station. Though I was asked to support the other gates with hit-and-run attacks, within reason at least, my main order was to protect this location. Much like Lord Melkor's knights, my role here was to activate one of the shoe mills and then keep Lord Cosmere abreast of the battle situation. Defending the gates largely fell to those of the Knight's Order. A scout, then. In that case, I would ask for you to check on the lower city. We don't have enough experience there to know what things are normally like. Understood. As one of Lady Rosemont's guards, I wasn't included among the knights properly assigned to the gate. I would fight alongside them if we were attacked, but otherwise we followed a separate chain of command. As nice as it was for someone to call me a scout, my actual role didn't feel anywhere near as important. Lord Melkor is here at the temple with his guard knights, where my lady is absent. It makes me feel a little out of place. Lady Rosemont was currently in Arensbach. Reports claimed she had succeeded in rescuing Lord Ferdinand, but she'd also been bedridden in Arensbach's castle, and we'd yet to receive any news about her waking up. The looming attack had made things especially tense, so even if our report did reach the castle announcing Lady Rosamund's return to consciousness, I doubted that I or any of her other retainers would receive the news right away. No matter what information gets sent to the castle, I assume I won't hear about it until the fighting is over. Yeah, probably not. Feeling dejected, I stared down at the lower city from atop my lone high beach. People were hurrying about in waves, having most likely been driven home by it, all the soldiers running around and shouting for them to evacuate. Among all that tangle, 3 large carriages were heading to the north gate. Maybe they were carrying the Gutenbergs? The stores on the north side of the city closed one by one, and the main streets emptied, but there was still a lot of people in the south. I could see wagons of produce leaving the city. There weren't many evacuation positions for points for farmers within the city limits, so many of them were going back to their towns. I'm just sitting here looking around. Is this helpful with the slightest? Lady Rosamund had given everyone clear roles. Daniel was evacuating the Gutenbergs, Feline was managing the orphanage, and the attendants were defending the library. It seems strange to me that I, an actual guard knight, hadn't been given anywhere to protect. I suppose that I was protecting the temple as a whole, but it wasn't like I had taken part in its evacuation. Feline was overseeing that orphanage on her own, which made me a little bit upset. I'm supposed to be Lady Rosamund's guard knight. Frustration and regret welled up in my chest. Having to scout the lower city on my own felt like proof that the others were leaving me behind. It wasn't Lady Rosamund's fault that I couldn't go to Arensbach with her. It was against the rules to take underage knights on missions outside of the noble's quarter. One could skirt that limitation with parental permission, but my father's words echoed through my head. Stay in Ehrenfest. I'd even ask you to come back to Kernberger while Lady Rosamund's away. I can't let you go to Arensbach when you're still so young. There are other ways for you to maintain your pride as a knight, like guarding Ehrenfest's temple or castle. Father doesn't get it, not in the slightest. Lorenz is my age, so why was he allowed to go? Because he was name sworn to her, I think. I puffed out my cheeks. The retainers of the former Veronica faction had their own problems. I wasn't denying that fact, but at times like this, I couldn't help but feel jealous that they were able to follow Lady Rosamund anywhere. Father had refused to let me go to the sovereignty with her, and now I couldn't accompany her to Arensbach. I just wanted to be with my fellow guard knights. Stop it, Judith. Being a guard knight is about more than just marching into battle with your charge. Lady Rosamund cares about Ehrenfest, and ensuring its safety is important to her. There are some things the knights of other Archducal family members won't be able to protect for her. My mind wandered to when Lady Rosamund had taken Daniel aside and given him a special order of some kind. They had used sound blockers, so I wasn't sure what they discussed, but he had clearly agreed to carry out her request. No fair. It's always Daniel, but he's her confidant, essentially. He's the one who knows her the longest, essentially, so he knows any kind of past she's got in anything. Like me, he was protecting Ehrenfest rather than staying with Lady Rosamund, yet he didn't seem insecure about his role in the slightest. I wasn't on Hartmut's level, but I was a little jealous that Daniel was her most trusted retainer. The gap between us was so clear that it frustrated me. Was I really her worst guard knight? No! No! One way or another, I need to be useful during this fight. The streets of the lower city had almost been evacuated. Some were refusing to close their stalls, and others were trying to relocate to their workplaces so they can continue their work. And most people were safely inside. It should almost be fourth bell. As I nervously watched the west gate, 2 ordinances darted into my vision. One went to the castle while the other came to me. Judith, this is Daniel. The reports were true. Threats have arrived dressed in silver cloth. Defend the temple. At once I sent ordinances to Lord Cosmere and Lord Fonzel. The knights assigned to the back gate had normal weapons not made with mana so they could attack any silver cloth invaders who tried to force their way through. I needed to do my bit as Lady Rosamund's guard knight. I'll defend the temple no matter what. Fourth bell rang and the west gate suddenly became a lot busier. Maybe they started fighting the intruders? I want to be there too! I was raring to go, but not a single intruder had shown up to face me. As much as I wanted a chance to shine like Daniel, my only option was to stay where I was. I couldn't abandon my station and charge to the west gate in case someone attacked the temple in my absence. We each have a role to play here. I'd once slacked on my knightly duties, having believed that Daniel was assigning me to ride with Lady Rosamund as a slight against my talents as a knight. I didn't want to repeat that mistake and remain ignorant to what was expected of me. I need to stay here. Leaving isn't an option, so why am I still so curious? Well, curiosity killed the cat in this situation. Don't do it. Making sure to stay within the temple's grounds, I edged my high beast closer to the west gate. Shouting soon reached my ears. I noticed some commoners wandering around with uncertain looks on their faces, despite everyone having been ordered to evacuate. Several knights flew to the west gate, having most likely been reassigned there. I really want to join them. Daniel was tasked with overseeing the entire lower city. He should be keeping an eye on other places too. I was pouting about my unfortunate situation when a realization hit me. Was Daniel so focused on the west gate that he'd stopped paying attention to the other parts of the lower city? My role was to scout for potential threats, so maybe I could remedy that. I scanned the city below from atop my high beast, all too pleased that I found a way to be useful. Daniel can be a little clumsy sometimes. I should cover for his blind spots. Yeah, cover each other's weaknesses. The commoners who had refused to evacuate before had quickly changed their tune when the fighting at the west gate started. The central plaza's remaining stalls were put away in the blink of an eye, and their owners rushed east or south. There was no reason for anyone to go west toward the fighting or north to the temple. So what's with that wagon there? Farmers transporting their produce were either leaving to return to their hometowns or making their way to the evacuation center in the south part of the city. But this wagon was heading against the crowd and traveling north. Was it going to the nobles' quarter? If so, the knights stationed at the north gate would turn it away without a second thought. It looked small and crummy compared to the ones that normally frequented the nobles' quarter. I doubted it would receive permission to pass even during times of peace. As those thoughts ran through my mind, I suddenly lost sight of the wagon. Oh, has it reached its destination, or is it lurking in the shadows of an alleyway? Suspicious, I paid close attention to the nearby side streets. It wasn't long before I spotted some shady figures continuing north while taking extra care to stay in the shadows. Were those people hiding in the wagon? The attack on the west gate might be a diversion. I anxiously returned to the back gate, where I told the knights what I'd seen and my theory that the temple and the north gate might soon come under attack. Send an ordinance to the knight commander, I was told. I shall inform the north gate directly, right away. According to Lord Otis, several changes had been made to the night stations because of the attack on the west gate and the arrival of reinforcements from Kerdberger and Haldensale. This meant ordinances were less reliable for contacting specific locations, but as the night commander was locked in place, I could send mine there. This is Judith, I said. I was watching the lower city from the temple's back gate and saw several suspicious individuals approaching the north gate. They did not appear to be wearing any silver cloth, but be warned. The fighting at the west gate might be a distraction for an attack on the north gate or temple. There may likely be more like them, came the knight's commander's response. Keep a close eye on the lower city. Do not look away for a moment. Determined to carry out my new order, I raced up to the sky above the gate. I could see two knights flying to interrogate the figures I'd reported. That group's smaller than it was before, right? Before I could dwell on that thought any longer, it was blown right out of my mind. The knights did something I couldn't quite make out. Then the strange figures made high beasts and shot up into the air. One of the knights immediately launched a rocket, calling for backup from the north gate, and so an airborne battle commenced. Oh, great! This is Judith, I said, sending ordinances to Lord Casimir and Lord Otis. The knights of the north gate are in combat with the suspicious individuals. This is Casimir. Understood. We received a report that intruders appeared in the castle's hidden passageways. The temple and the north gate nobles' quarter are on their guard. This is Otis. Your message has been received. It seems that another group of magic tools was spotted in the nobles' quarter. A fight could break out at any moment. Be on your guard. Moments later, an explosion shook the temple's back gate. The large entrance for carriages didn't even budge, but the door meant for foot traffic was blasted away by magic tools. Huh? Intruders? Don't let a single one into the temple. Oh, we shall see about that. The group heading north must have seemed smaller because some of their numbers had gone to the temple. I could already feel the blood draining from my face as I raced to the gate that was under attack. One of the invaders was holding a magic tool of some kind. He shouted, "Die!" as he unleashed it on our knights. Prepare yourselves, Lord Otis roared. This magic tool detonated into the air, but not with the same tremendous boom as the previous attack. This one simply made a light pop as it spread white powder over the powder. Don't breathe it in! Watch it, I cried as I drove down toward the fighting. It had already been briefed about Lonzinoff's poison, so I cleansed my allies without a second thought. From there, I readied my sling and shot several offensive magic tools toward our attackers. Bestowed upon me by Hartman and Clarissa, their purpose was to unleash bugs and powder that would irritate the eyes and throat, meaning they would work even against silvercloth-wearing threats who were immune to mana. The invaders hadn't expected this counterattack. They were shouting out in fear and confusion. Hurry up and drink your Jereves! You! Oh! I called out to the poisoned knights, only to realize that my own movements were becoming more labored. It was hard to breathe, and my body felt increasingly... Jereve! Drink your Jereve! I must have gotten too close to the poison and accidentally inhaled some. I used a quick washing of myself, then down my own Jereve. Show them no quarter, Lord Otis roared, then fired a rod and activated the front gate's aqua-colored shoe mill. From where I was watching the battle, I saw the shoe mill start charging toward the attackers. A flashbang! The invaders threw magic tools of their own, probably to buy themselves some time to recover from their confusion. The knights below me were blasted with one flashbang after another, but the pink shoe mill dashed through the explosions without even a moment's hesitation. Our enemies couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the cute combatant racing toward them on stubby legs. What in the world is that? A shoe mill? No, it's too large. The shoemill readied its radiant golden scythe, a magic tool, then swung it straight down. It was an eerily quick slash for something that looked so innocent. And just like that, one of our attackers was cleaved nearly in half. Oh my god! This stuff being animated, that might raise the rating a little bit. Just a little bit! Fresh blood sprayed everywhere, even on the shoemill as it turned around. Everyone, our own knights included, choked in fear at the sight. Lysletta, seeing an adorable shoemill wreak this havoc makes it 3 times as frightening. The remaining invaders were so shocked and disturbed that they simply froze in place. The shoemill ran to its next opponent, who threw up his hands and pleaded for mercy. He received none, and was cut down in short order. Another of the intruders cursed, then turned tail and attempted to flee. He didn't get very far, though. That with an aqua shoemill in his path, and a pink one bringing up the rear. Uh-oh. They swung their golden scythes in perfect unison. The shoemills had eliminated another enemy. It was good they were working so fast, since they would power down once their mana was depleted, but their speed was seriously unbelievable. It was hard not to want to entrust everything to them. Someone get into the temple. Follow them. To our surprise, the shoemills had allowed one of our enemy to run past them. They weren't even giving chase. The knights had tried to apprehend the intruder when they'd realized, but their Jereves hadn't kicked in yet, meaning they were still too slow. No matter how hard they tried, their target got further and further away. Why aren't the shoemills following them? They see by sensing mana. Maybe the person's wearing silver cloth, rendering them more or less undetectable. We must contact Lord Melkor. Judith, are you well enough to do that for us? The knights on the ground had endured far more poison than me, and chasing the intruder might have caused it to course faster through their system. They were already collapsing onto the ground. My own mana flow had taken a beating too, but at least I was on my high beast. We needed to report that a threat had gotten into the temple immediately. My staff didn't come out as easily as usual. It was only with great difficulty that I managed to send an ordinance. This is Judith. One of the intruders avoided the shoemills by wearing silver cloth. They managed to get into the temple. The knights drank rejuvenation potions as well as their Jereves, and then devoted some time to recovering. The shoemills would take care of any more enemies who tried to attack us. I dismounted my high beast and also focused on my recovery. My mana is returning to normal. By the time I realized my flow was on the mend, an ordinance had approached me. This is Daedric, it said. The silver-clothed invader was Lady Georgine. She set off several shots before being teleported to the Ivory Tower. It is our victory. The temple was defended. If we really had captured Lady Georgine, then the battle was indeed ours. The other knights erupted in celebratory cheers, elation clear on their faces. They certainly were recovering well, and they seemed much lighter on their feet than before. Lord Otis gave a wry smile before instructing the knights. Right, everyone, start gathering up these intruders. Bring each and every one of them to the knight's order, dead or alive. Start by disarming them, but be careful. Even with the shoemills still active, we might be vulnerable to more enemies. Yes, sir. The rejuvenated knights tied together what remained of our attackers before removing the weapons, magic tools, and such from their bodies. Once they were done, they started unmasking the moving intruders, and the final reveal caused me to shriek. That's Grossum! Another one! That's 2 we've seen so far! Technically 3 in Gerlach, and then Florencia's gonna find they're gonna find, shoot. There was 3 so far. They say he gave his name to Lady Georgine and died during the Winter Purge, but here he is. Grossum was Matthias' father. I personally thought his life had been forfeit the moment he decided to invade Ehrenfest, but that didn't change the truth of our situation. He had succumbed to a magic tool that Lady Rosamund had made. I also couldn't ignore my own role in bringing about his demise. How would Matthias react to the news that his lady and fellow retainer had contributed to his father's death? Would it pain him to learn that the man was a traitor? I think he already knew this, so I don't think it's going to bother him too much. Just imagining his response made my heart ache, even more so when I overheard some of the knights discussing the matter. This man's son, Matthias was it? He's still alive, isn't he? I've heard that he gave his name to the Archducal family, but there's no denying what an irredeemable monster his father was now. Does he not pose a tremendous threat to his lord or lady? That's not at all. Or that's not all. I heard that the name-sworn who escaped punishment had been locked up until the duchy's safe again. The entire Archducal family knows they're dangerous. If you ask me, taking this opportunity to execute them would do wonders for Ehrenfest. At the very least, I don't want an invasion like this to ever happen again. The naked disdain for Matthias and the others sent a shudder down my spine. Their stance would have outraged Lady Rosamund, who was always saying that children needed bear the sins of their parents. I thought the knights would be more accepting once Ehrenfest was safe, but that mistake was being thrust in my face. Stop that, I shouted. Matthias and the others reported their own parents for the sake of their duchy. It was because of them that the purge was accelerated, and we managed to catch all those nobles worshipping Lady Georgine before they had a chance to act. Don't you ever say we should have executed them. They've done more to save Ehrenfest than almost anyone. Right. Matthias gave his name to Lady Rosemine then, Lord Otis asked, seeming a little uncomfortable. That makes him your co-worker. I should not have spoken so carelessly. He was sorry that he made such a remark while I was in earshot, but he hadn't even attempted to take them back. And the other nobles probably share his opinion. It turned my stomach. Was it really that hard to understand what a brutal decision Matthias and the others had needed to make? How much bravery it had taken for them to report their own parents? I wouldn't have had the guts to do the same thing. Giving their names to the Archducal family had enabled them to escape execution, but Matthias was grief-stricken by how Lady Georgine had taken over his entire house. He always wore the same pained expression. The same was true for Lorenz, though he always smiled and cracked jokes. I could sense he was just putting up a front. Matthias and Lorenz had their memories searched and were spared punishment because Ob Ehrenfest deemed them loyal, I said, continuing to put pressure on Lord Otis. Are you questioning the Archduke's decision? That wasn't my intention. I meant only that many nobles considered them a potential threat. I understand your desire to support your co-workers and that they helped you prevent the first plan, but the second one came to fruition, and now there are casualties all over Ehrenfest. The Ob can burn all existence of Lady Georgine's involvement, but the wounds left by her name sworn will remain. To be frank, those who escape punishment are going to be viewed with even more scrutiny from now on. Lord Otis chose not to say anything else. He and the others put the tied-up intruders on their high beasts, then flew away to regroup with the Knight's Order. We had defeated Lady Georgine, but our troubles were far from over. Matthias, Lorenz, and everyone else who had given their name to escape execution would only have it harder from now on. The world was so unfair that it made me sick. We protected Ehrenfest, but what kind of victory is this? Now alone by the back gate, I vented some of my frustration with a heavy sigh, then went over to the shoe mills. I needed to deactivate them. There probably wouldn't be any more fighting now that Lady Georgine was out of the picture. The shoe mills were still covered in blood. Grossum must have been mixed in there too. I cast wash and hoping to clean them as much as possible before Matthias got back. Large bubbles of water swallowed up the two shoe mills, and moments later they were sparkly clean. If only Grossum's mark, Matthias and Lorenz's pain, and the malice of our duchy's nobles could be washed away so easily, I know. Maybe it's a good thing that Lady Rosamund is leaving Ehrenfest. It was the first time I'd ever thought something like that. We had agreed that I would stay behind, but Matthias and the others were going to follow her to the sovereignty. Hopefully this makes our lives even a little bit easier. I gazed up at the temple and prayed to the gods. And I'm going to have to end this off here. I'm sorry, guys. I think the only ones left are Florencia and Sylvester. I am not sure. Anyway, I will get to this last one. It will be probably tomorrow because I have to work today. And I will see you guys in the next one.